Take a deep breath and let the modern world fade away. You're listening to Amber Radio. Tonight, we travel back to 1953 Pennsylvania. Settle into the Windsor blue bench seat of a brand new Chevrolet Bel Air as we pull into the crushed stone driveway of Shankweiler's drive-in. Outside, the blue hour has arrived, a deep indigo sky. Listen to the buttery hiss of the window glass sliding down and the solid clink of the heavy aluminum speaker as it hooks onto your door. A warm layer of analog static fills the car, dissolving the stress of the week. In this private cocoon of steel and chrome, the silver beam of the projector is about to turn the night into a dream. Close your eyes and let the story begin. The neon stardust. A night at Shankweiler's starts now. The twilight over Orfield, Pennsylvania, is not merely a change in time, it is a transition of the soul. Arthur, his hands slightly calloused from a day at the drafting table, loosens his silk necktie as he grips the steering wheel of his brand new 1953 Chevrolet Bel Air. The car is painted in a stunning Windsor blue, a deep, regal shade that catches the dying orange rays of the sun, reflecting the rows of maple trees lining the Lehigh County roads. Beside him, Helen idly flips through the glossy pages of a fashion monthly, but her gaze is fixed forward, where the neon marquee of Shankweiler's drive-in begins to crest over the hill. The tires of the Chevy begin to crunch over the white crushed stone of the driveway. Crunch, 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 steady and slow. Arthur feels the weight of the 2-ton machine, the solid, grounding reliability of 1950s American steel. They stop at the small white wooden ticket booth. Arthur pulls a single $1.20 from his leather wallet, his fingers brushing the cool chrome of the door frame. As they navigate the vast lot, he seeks out the ramps, those carefully engineered mounds of earth designed to tilt the front of the car upward at a perfect 15-degree angle. Arthur steers the Bel Air onto a ramp in the 4th row. He pulls the handbrake with a sharp, mechanical click that echoes in the quiet cabin. He turns off the engine. A profound silence follows, broken only by the rhythmic tink, tink, tink of the cooling metal under the hood. Outside, the blue hour has arrived, a deep indigo sky where the first stars blink into existence directly above the 50-foot screen, turning it into a gateway to another world. The most important detail of the night stands on a silver post beside them. Arthur rolls down the driver's side window with the chrome crank, the glass slides down with a smooth, buttery hiss. He reaches out and lifts the in-car speaker. It is a heavy block of die-cast aluminum, its surface slightly textured and ice-cold. He hooks it onto the edge of the window glass with a solid, satisfying clink of metal against crystal. As Arthur turns the small black plastic knob, a layer of analog static fills the car. It isn't noise, it is a warm white noise that dissolves the stress of the week. Helen leans her head back against the woven fabric of the bench seat, which smells faintly of cedar and powdered perfume. They sit there, in their private cocoon of steel and chrome, waiting for the first silver beam to burst from the projection booth. On the giant screen, the intermission cartoons begin. Vibrant Technicolor animations of dancing popcorn boxes and smiling soda cups beckon the audience. Arthur and Helen step out of the car. The first sensation is the crisp Pennsylvania night air rushing against their skin. They walk the gravel path toward the concession stand. Around them, hundreds of other sedans sit in rows, their massive tail fins rising like sails on a dark sea. The light from the screen reflects off the chrome bumpers, creating ripples of liquid silver in the dark. The scents begin to take over, the smell of damp earth, motor oil, and the intoxicating, heavy aroma of hot butter wafting from the snack bar. Inside the stand, bright fluorescent lights highlight rows of colorful candy. Arthur stops before the massive popcorn popper. Through the glass, he watches yellow kernels leap and pop against the metal kettle lid with a rhythmic, staccato beat. He buys a large striped bucket. The cardboard is warm and comforting against his palms. Helen picks 2 glass bottles of Stewart's root beer from a bed of crushed ice. The dark brown glass is so cold it makes her fingertips ache. The clerk pops the metal caps with a sharp, pressurized hiss, releasing a tiny mist of carbonation that smells of sassafras and vanilla. Beads of condensation form instantly on the glass, shimmering like dew. They walk back to the Bel Air, their path illuminated by the silver pillar of the projector beam, cutting through the night like a tunnel of stardust. Arthur sets the warm popcorn bucket on the wide, flat dashboard of the Chevy. Helen hands him a root beer, its icy temperature a perfect contrast to the heat of the corn. Arthur takes a handful of popcorn, feeling the rich, salty butter melt on his tongue. He takes a sip of the root beer, the spicy, herbal sweetness and the biting cold wake up his senses, before lulling them into a deeper state of relaxation. The sound of the muffled crunch of popcorn mixes with the warm, tinny dialogue leaking from the small iron speaker. The main feature begins, and the massive screen erupts into the shimmering, silvery world of Roman holiday. Though the film is captured in black and white, the high-intensity carbon arc lamps of the Shankweiler's projector make the images glow with a luminous, pearlescent quality. Arthur watches as the opening credits scroll in elegant, sweeping typography. The face of Audrey Hepburn, as Princess Anne, fills the 5-story screen, her eyes wide, radiating a youthful, innocent brilliance that seems to light up the entire parked fleet of cars. The light from the projector cuts through the Pennsylvania night like a solid pillar of silver dust, a celestial highway where millions of tiny motes dance in a frantic, hypnotic ballet. The sound emanating from the heavy aluminum speaker hooked to their window is thin and metallic, yet it possesses an incredible, nostalgic lo-fi warmth. As the scene shifts to the cobblestone streets of Rome, the tinny clatter of a Vespa scooter fills the cabin of the Bel Air. Arthur hears the muffled, velvet baritone of Gregory Peck, his voice sounding intimate and close, as if he is sitting right there on the bench seat with them. The gentle hiss of the analog static underlying the dialogue acts as a brown noise floor, a steady, rhythmic pulse that begins to slow Arthur's heart rate. Outside, a light mist begins to roll over the Lehigh County hills, blurring the edges of the other cars until only their glowing red taillights remain, like distant embers in a dark forest. The night air has turned crisp, smelling of damp clover and cooling engines. Helen reaches into the back seat and pulls out a heavy, plaid wool blanket. She spreads it over their laps, the coarse fabric smelling of cedar chests and home. Under the blanket's weight, the warmth of their bodies creates a private sanctuary of total safety. Arthur feels the tension of his architectural drafting disappear into the Windsor blue upholstery. On screen, the princess and the reporter are dancing on a barge on the Tiber River. The flickering light of the scene washes the interior of the Chevy in rhythmic waves of pale gray and brilliant white, casting dancing shadows across the dashboard's chrome dials. As the movie reaches its poignant, bittersweet climax, the world beyond the windshield ceases to exist. There is only the steady thrum of the distant interstate, a low-frequency drone that harmonizes with the chirping of crickets, hidden in the tall grass around the car ramps. The rhythmic crunch of the last few kernels of popcorn becomes a slow, meditative percussion. Arthur watches a stray spark from the projection booth drift toward the stars, disappearing into the indigo void. The movements of the actors on screen become slower in his mind, a graceful, silent dance that lulls his nervous system into a state of total surrender. The final scene ends with a long, silent shot of a Roman hallway, and the words "the end" bloom across the screen. The music swells one last time, a lush, orchestral arrangement that vibrates the thin diaphragm of their window speaker. Arthur is in no rush to move. He sits in the lingering silence, listening to the final, peaceful crackle of the static before unhooking the heavy iron box. One last clink against the post signals the end of the journey. In the rearview mirror, the amber glow of the stardust sign is a fading memory. The drive home will be a slow glide through moonlit country roads, draped in the scent of butter, wool, and the silver dreams of 1953.